It's funny when you become really involved in the process and you understand how Annapolis works. It's hard to remember that some people don't know that. The Maryland legislature is so overwhelmingly progressive, democratic, liberal, whatever term you want to use. Certainly not necessarily pro-business and pro-jobs. Any bill that the Democratic Party decides to pass will get passed, and if the governor elects to veto that bill, the Democrats have the votes, to override that veto. MBRG, we're talking about jobs. I remember having, it was a breakfast meeting with there again another one of our political leaders. This goes back probably 30 years, and I remember telling this person, I said, "Wow, I get so frustrated as a real estate person. I was getting a lot of permits back in the day. I wasn't a CEO. I was probably a gopher, would be more like it." And I said, I was seeing how some of the government policies were really wasn't good for the government, it wasn't good for us. And I was so relieved when he said, "You're absolutely right. I agree with you completely." I said, "Wow,
great,
this is wonderful." I said, "Now here's what you got to do. See, because I can't vote for that. Even though I agree with you completely, if I vote for that, I'm going to get killed in the next election. So what you've got to do is educate the electorate so that they will want me to vote for that, and then it'll all be good." And I realized then that when I was in probably third or fourth grade, the vocabulary word was oxymoron. And the example that they always used was military intelligence. And I realized that probably political leadership would have been a better example. The reason why personal income tax rates are so important is because the vast majority of business owners pay taxes as individuals. And when someone has to pay an exorbitantly high rate of tax, that's capital that is not available to be reinvested to grow that business, to hire more people. So that's why when we emphasize personal rates, it's not because we want to have more money to spend, it's because businesses are paying, I think it's at least 80% of businesses in Maryland, owners are paying taxes as individuals.
And all the LLCs.
It's all S Corps and OLCs, partnerships. It's the potential for us to really kickstart the Maryland economy and achieve the kind of results that we should have, given the resources. I mean, like I said, we should be the Super Bowl winners. We should be a top 10 economy. We should be a state that other people look at and go, "Wow, wish we could be Maryland." A lot of states look at Maryland, they see the potential that we have, and they envy the potential that we have, and they also can't understand why we don't see that, why we're not taking advantage of it. And that's the message we need to get to the legislature.
And then I think others do see why we can't take advantage of that potential, and they see it as the legislature. We've got a national reputation. They've written about us in the Wall Street Journal. There's a national reputation that, we see that you've got a pro-business governor. He might be gone in a couple of years. I'm not sure I'm ready to take that leap. As long as you've got that legislature that's going like this, I don't know that I can trust it.
If we could get enough pro-job legislators, both
sides of the aisle,
delegates and senators, it would change the dialogue. Right now, if not one pro-growth delegate or senator showed up, it wouldn't matter. They would still have a quorum, they would have the votes to pass whatever they wanted to pass. And if Larry Hogan said, "I'm not going to sign it," they said, "That's fine, we don't care." If we can get just 6 or 7, it just changes that dynamic. All of a sudden, there has to be a conversation, there has to be a negotiation. And that's why it's so critically important to get about. I'm not saying we need to be we need to be majority pro-job. I mean, that would be nice.
Not even 50-50.
But right now we're not. The pro-job people are not even relevant. They're not necessary to the process of governing, and that's that's really not a healthy situation. Most of our elected officials, I think, if you get them in a moment of candor, honesty, will tell you that government works best when there's a balance, and there is a conversation, and there is a negotiation and give and take. And I don't care whether it's on this side of the aisle or that side of the aisle. It just works better. It's the way our founding fathers designed our system of government, is that we need to be talking to each other, and we need to be finding common ground. And that's where we're trying to get to in Maryland.
I was on a legislative panel recently, a month or two ago, and the topic of the paid leave bill came up, which is a very big topic, both this past session and the upcoming session. And very frankly, very openly, to a room of 200 people, one of our senior senators said, very matter of factly, well, paid leave will pass this year, period. There's a little bit of pushback because the bill as it was constructed last year was a horrible bill. There were some excellent amendments put forth, and Delegate Nip Kipke put them all together in what we call the Kipke Amendment, which really helped fix a lot of them. And a lot of that is what's in Governor Hogan's proposed bill. But the senator said, well, it's definitely going to pass because Mike Bush and Mike Miller want it to pass. And that's politics in Maryland. I mean, that's Scott's point in a nutshell. And that's not a healthy democracy.
One thing that was interesting to me is back in 1987, actually Mike Miller was serving in the Senate, and Mike Bush was serving in the House of Delegates. He wasn't the Speaker. In 1987, which is only the second year we had roll call numbers, right. Mike Miller's ranking was 83%.
Wow.
Mike Bush's ranking was 100%. By 2011, Mike Miller's ranking that year was 11%, Mike Bush was 9%. And even last year, Miller was 40%, Bush was 30%. We really have had that movement, away from the middle. On the one hand, you have the generally pro-jobs, conservative side, and on the other side, you have the folks that I'm going to say they just don't appreciate how much business and capitalism and free enterprise can do to move the needle on prosperity and provide opportunity for everybody in the state of Maryland.